At this point, you've likely heard the news, right? Or maybe read that big Bloomberg article from Jason Schreier, who of course has a very good track record and now spoke with multiple sources inside Sony about what is going on, or actually what was going on with that secret San Diego studio. We also learned what Sony Bend has been up to after launching Days Gone, and this in particular is very disappointing, and the article overall focuses on Naughty Dog and what they are working on. And I'm not really thrilled about that either. It's not a "oh no, Sony is doomed," but it does give us a glimpse at what is going on behind the scenes, and we can look at recent trends and kinda connect the dots here. So let's do that in the return of the Sunday Jorgameshow. We're back from a short break. Thanks for tuning in. Every Sunday, of course, a big video like this, diving into recent gaming trends, and I'll of course answer one of your questions at the end of the video as well. A like would really help me out, and let's go. With Days Gone headlining the PS Plus games of April, it's by the way also in the PS Plus collection on PS5, and it is coming to PC in the spring at some point with ultra-wide monitor support, unlocked frame rates, better graphics, and also achievement support. Like with all these announcements, I really thought that they were preparing for a big Days Gone comeback to get us hyped up for the next game, kind of what we saw with Horizon coming to PC around the reveal of the Forbidden West. Get more people interested in the franchise and then launch the next game exclusively for the PlayStation 5, so they have to get that console to experience the next chapter. And I'm sure that this will still be the tactic for God of War and Ghost of Tsushima at some point, but we now learned that Days Gone is not happening, or at least not anytime soon. According to Jason, Sony Bend tried unsuccessfully to pitch a sequel that year, so 2019 when Days Gone came out, according to people familiar with the proposal. Although the first game had been profitable, its development had been lengthy and critical reception was mixed, so a Days Gone 2 wasn't seen as a viable option. Sony Bend's last game before Days Gone was Uncharted Golden Abyss, the PS Vita launch game, which launched in December 2011 in Japan and then later in February 2012 when Vita came out in the West. So it took them more than 7 years to get a new game out, and sure, that time wasn't only spent on Days Gone, they were also exploring an infamous game for Vita, for example, before settling on their new IP that then was announced at E3 2016 and launched 3 years later. It was first planned for 2018 though, so delayed a couple of times, and when it came out, it was still in a rough shape. There were typical open world bugs, like enemies getting stuck, but no, that was not really the issue. It was more the frame rate in later game areas, or how you could be faster on your motorcycle than the game could load in the world. It was pretty bad, and the footage that you see here was, by the way, on PS4 Pro. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to put the game in a bad light or anything. I just want to give you some context on why Sony likely made this decision. As you might know, I was actually one of the only positive reviews before the launch, because despite these technical problems, I really liked Days Gone. I had an emotional connection with the characters, and the game is just really fun and satisfying, especially after taking out a huge horde. Like, if you boot up the game right now, many of the technical issues have been resolved, and while the critics weren't too happy with it around launch, the user score is an 8.3 on Metacritic right now, and overall the consensus was really that players actually really enjoyed their time with this game. But sure, it wasn't on the same level of a Naughty Dog title, God of War, or Horizon, and I don't think anyone expects every PlayStation exclusive to be on that level, but that is what Sony seems to be chasing. If your new IP is amazing or a multi-million seller right out of the gate, then you will not get a second chance. It's likely the main reason we saw them stop working with Quantic Dream after Detroit, while we did not see more PlayStation exclusives from Supermassive after the awesome Until Dawn, and why there are rumors now that Kojima is going to collaborate with Xbox instead, because Death Stranding just wasn't a big success at all for Sony after the huge amount of marketing dollars spent. It's all about the big hits from these massive first-party studios now, and nothing else. And that's a damn shame, because for a studio that made excellent portable versions of familiar franchises, they for example also did Resistance Retribution on PSP, like for their first new IP AAA PS4 game, Days Gone was great. Imagine if Sony Band could take in the feedback, learn from their mistakes, and apply that to Days Gone 2. The story and the world had so much potential. That tease at the end was brilliant. Won't of course spoil it for if you haven't completed the game yet. Like, Sony Band really wanted to make this game. They already had systems in place, so a sequel would have likely not taken that long. Like, Uncharted 1 wasn't all that great, but it turned into Uncharted 2 and the other titles, which are now massive sellers for Sony. Days Gone turned a profit even with this lengthy development cycle, and will only make more money thanks to people subscribing to PS Plus or buying it on PC when it comes out. But no, that isn't enough, because instead of greenlighting the sequel, Sony turned Sony Band into a Naughty Dog support studio. Going back to Jason, instead one team at the studio was assigned to help Naughty Dog with a multiplayer game, while a second team was assigned to work on a new Uncharted game with supervision from Naughty Dog. And this was, according to him, also the main reason that the two senior leads, John Garvin and Jeff Ross, left Sony Band in 2019 and 2020 respectively. Band's developers feared that they might be absorbed into Naughty Dog, and the studio's leadership asked to be taken off the Uncharted project, according to Jason's article. They got their wish last month and are now working on a new game of their own that will be part of a brand new franchise. Okay, so luckily Sony Band is now making their own thing again, making it even stranger that they did not just approve Days Gone 2 back then, right? Hopefully this new franchise will see the light of day and will be a bigger success. The multiplayer game with Naughty Dog is likely The Last of Us Part 2 Factions, we know is coming, right? And it might be even bigger now than we thought if Sony Band is helping out as well. And this multiplayer project is, by the way, still happening, according to Jason on Twitter. As for the new Uncharted, he doesn't know if that's still in development, only that it was all on paper at Band. And yeah, for the longest time we of course thought that that secret new San Diego team was making a new Uncharted game instead. We had LinkedIn profiles from the former studio boss talking about how the team was assembled to expand upon existing franchises and craft all new stories for the next generation of gamers. Other rumors we heard was that it was going to be a AAA action-adventure game with Naughty Dog seemingly involved as well. But yeah, we now learned, thanks to this Jason article, that it was a Last of Us remake all along. Yes, that game that released in 2013 got a remaster in 2014 and even got a recent patch in October 2020 that reduced the load times by over 70% on PS4. And Naughty Dog got even more and more involved into this remake for PlayStation 5, by the way. Instead of giving the funding to that San Diego team, Sony moved the ownership now to its original creator, Naughty Dog. So, let's get this straight. Naughty Dog is making a Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer, a Last of Us remake, and they might take over that Uncharted Band game then. Like, this scenario is the least exciting PlayStation 5 future for Naughty Dog I had in mind. Although again, that Uncharted project might just be like put in the dumpster for all we know. But yeah, I agree with people saying that we don't need a Last of Us remake. But with the big HBO show coming that is going to adapt dialogue from the first game while deviating in story, it will be really smart to have this remake launch on PlayStation 5 for all the newcomers to the franchise who will be hyped to check the game out after seeing that show. Like, this is what happened with The Witcher 3 as well. So, it's really smart business to leverage this. The plan is to bundle, by the way, Part 2 and this remake, and then likely sell it for full price on PS5, I would imagine. I mean, I would only play The Last of Us again with the graphics we already saw teased at the start of Part 2, and the gameplay of Part 2 as well. And according to Jason, like, this is what we're getting, but I also want Naughty Dog to move on and create a brand new IP instead, We would not have The Last of Us if they did not think of new ideas after Uncharted. But yeah, maybe with Neil Druckmann being invested in The Last of Us HBO series as well, he wanted to stay in the world for a little longer before moving on. I wish they would focus on a brand new thing though, and let that extra San Diego team make the remake instead. It's now, by the way, unclear what is happening with this smaller San Diego team, especially because many developers left. And that was really something that I was afraid would happen after big hits like Horizon, Spider-Man and God of War, that every big Sony game that would launch after that from their own studios would be compared to those titles, and not even by the players, but by Sony themselves. Like, was it ever realistic that a studio known for like making portable versions of familiar franchises, that they would immediately knock it out of the park with a big open world AAA PS4 game? No, not really. But yeah, you have to, otherwise you won't get a second try with that IP from Sony. And I'm happy that Sony Band gets to do their own thing now, but I'm also kind of scared. Like, I am not 100% convinced that this will make it over the finish line. Like, it's kind of a weird 180 that Sony is doing. And now it also puts a ton of pressure on these other first-party studios that they really have to make a huge hit, otherwise Sony will maybe like put you on like a support role for another team. But also, when your game turns out to be a huge success, and I think that Ghost of Tsushima, for example, got that seal of approval, then your studio will likely be only focused on that new IP. And sure, I want more Horizon, God of War, Spider-Man and Ghost, but let's not hope that they forget what made the PS4 generation so special: new IP. And sure, we will totally get new IP during the PS5 generation, but it really seems that sequels and remakes are getting the upper hand, which of course, way less exciting. It's also interesting how Deathloop's director praised Xbox Game Pass because it will let Arcane remain creative. Like, their games usually don't sell very well, but they are really good. And if they just bring in a ton of new subscribers to Game Pass and bolster Microsoft's library, Microsoft will already be happy. Sony of course has to deal with Deathloop to likely make their PS5 like lineup year one more appealing, but I don't think that Arcane would like really function under Sony, because Sony is just looking for the next 10 million seller, and I don't think Arcane can ever deliver that. I just overall hope that we still see these first party studios take risks, and Days Gone 2 would have been a risk, and a Last of Us remake is not a risk. So yeah, it's disappointing news all around. I overall really expected Sony to give Sony Band another chance, because Days Gone 1, sure, it wasn't everything, but it had so much potential. They made these like portable games based on other franchises for a damn long time. They finally had their own thing. They were super passionate about it. Give them another chance. No, Sony turned them into a Naughty Dog support studio. Here, go work on someone else's franchise again. That must suck. I don't really like that. But yeah, I can't sit here and say, hey, the future of PlayStation exclusives is not exciting. It's actually really exciting. I can't wait for new Horizon stuff, new God of War stuff in this sort of reboot they created. So it's still going to be super awesome. But again, I just hope that overall they make more decisions based on passion from the developers, so these developers actually stick around, instead of like focusing on these short-term business gains. Because I think like for the long term, if all these people leave because they don't have their creative freedom, it will not be good for PlayStation in the long run. So yeah, I'm curious what you think, of course, in the comments down below. I'm overall just really sad that we don't get Days Gone 2. I really thought we would get it. And yeah, thanks to everyone, by the way, for reaching out about the Sunday video when it was kind of on a short break. I communicate about it on social media, so follow me there. And yeah, we're back now. Also, the news was kind of slow, and I wanted to focus on other content, so that was kind of the reason. But yeah, with like E3 coming up and a ton of other things going on, I think we will be able to make a cool big Sunday video every week, so keep it locked for that. And of course, at the end of every Sunday video, I want to answer one of your questions that you can drop down in the comments, and then I grab it and answer it here. So we got Game on Gameplay asking, any news on Horizon Forbidden West coming to PC? And you can really ask questions, by the way, about anything. So this is just a Horizon question. So I totally think Forbidden West will come to PC one day, but it will likely be a while. Like, Horizon released 2017 on PS4, 2020 we got it on PC, Days Gone 2019, 2021 it's coming to PC. So I totally think there will be these 2-year gaps at least between the PlayStation release and the PC release. And Sony also seems to be looking into like mobile, so next to bringing more games to PC, they also want to like bring it to mobile. We see this job listing right here. So they're really just doing this sort of Activision or like overall third-party publisher strategy. Look at the big IPs they have and make sure that more people get to experience them. So put them on mobile, so like the younger generation of gamers, who's of course way more playing on mobile, gets to experience those games. Put a TV show on Netflix, HBO, a movie, and then way more eyes are on the franchises. And then at one point it will be like, hey, I want to experience the next big thing. Then they have to buy a PlayStation 5 and do get like the new game. And that really seems to be the strategy for Sony moving forward. But I still hope they invest in like brand new ideas. And even if it doesn't turn out to be like this AAA 10 million seller game the first time around, give it another chance, because usually the second time is the charm. But yeah, we will see. I will of course keep track of all the Sony gaming trends and gaming trends in general here on the channel. So subscribe for way more content like this. A like on the video would of course really help me out. And don't check out my previous video on what the heck is going on with Forbidden West. I go over new rumors and news. For now, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.